Chevy. Ain't buying no stinking Ford. Don't worry. Or no stinking Chevrolet. I used to sell these things 32 years ago. My goodness. Back in 1981. Anyhow, they were junk. The build quality, there was a sprayed rubberized tar on the firewall dripping everywhere. Doors didn't close well. GM was selling them faster than they could build them, and it didn't matter. And if you didn't like it, you'd go buy something else. And the Fords probably had a little bit better build quality, but they used to rust away. And Chryslers, my mother had a brand new 75 Corinthian leather. What a piece of junk. 904 transmission, tiny duster back brakes. Anyhow, what am I doing here looking at my Chevrolet? Well, if you look inside the radiator, it's sludge. And I came here to the warehouse to remove the single thermostat outlet inlet and put a dual one on. But then I realized halfway through undoing the bolts that you can't, because the throttle cable's in the way, and you don't have it in 94 because there's no throttle cable. It's drive-by-wire. Totally different pump, totally different electronics, everything. And the dual thermostat comes around the back like this and goes right there. And the cables are here, so I put it all back together, and I'll just have to deal with a single thermostat. It lasted this long. When my friend, this guy that's putting the motor in the white Suburban, it's taken forever. I'll pass by there after I leave here. When we scrapped the 97, I didn't realize the 97 has a much better airbox with an elbow that comes in through this way. And I was reading this guy, Buddy, that writes about these 6.5 diesels on the truck stop or other places. He's quite the expert. He's the guy that fixed up my red one in California. Anyways, he said that this air filter box is useless. It can't be made to breathe. It's junk. He said to put on the 96, a newer one that has the alternator on this side and the air conditioner over there. And anyways, too bad. The truck got scrapped and the airbox went with it, so I'll have to get a different one, if it really matters. It's got a bigger filter, and you use a 90-degree street elbow, from what I read on his endless informative information that he publishes online. It's just wonderful. B-U-D-D-Y, Buddy. I'll send you the link. Also, I noticed this thing has a mechanical... Hang on a second, I'll get my flashlight. My hands are cold. This thing has a mechanical spring-loaded boost restrictor. Or is it vacuum? No, it's mechanical. It's a spring-loaded boost. There's no vacuum hose to it. Vacuum hose usually comes up from... There's no vacuum pump on this truck. Spring-loaded, old-fashioned style, right? Huck this 71. I'm going to keep the vacuum pump on the Weasel. Speaking of the Weasel, got problems with that truck. Got a head gasket leaking. Not a lot, but it's leaking. Low coolant light comes on every week. Fill it up with a gallon of coolant. It's getting sucked into the cylinders. So, if you do a head job on it, it's a big job. You pull the heads and you got a crack in the head, or cracks. Could they be welded? You buy brand new heads, or they made in China. Someone else said, just rebuild the whole engine. Well, I want to drive the truck, not spend time and money rebuilding it. Once you start taking things apart, you find cracks in the block, get a stud girdle, mill the heads and new pistons, and when you're talking thousands of dollars. Just look what piss on Jap scrap went through to rebuild that 6.2. $4,200, and I bought it for half price, and it's sitting in the back of my ramp side for this dream 64 or 65 El Camino I'd like to have somebody build for me with a 5-speed that I got from a 76 Cutlass 30 years ago. I'm digressing. So this thing runs all right, even though I ran it low on antifreeze, real low. The reason I came here was to remove the dual, to install the dual outlet thermostat once I put this on the white Suburban that I'm selling, because it is a 94. It didn't have this originally, but that's canceled. The next thing I wanted to show you, too bad it's not a 3500 single rear wheel. I'll take my flashlight out again, and the other thing I wanted to look at, first I'll mention that when people make mistakes in life, you admit it. You say, I'm wrong, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, you apologize. What I found out, and it's hard to believe, is people will not admit their mistakes. I made a mistake, a misstatement. I said that this fuel filter on my 93 pickup was a factory inline, I guess you'd call this a cartridge, spin-on filter. It's not. Somebody has added this. I just sort of glanced at it over the years that I've owned this truck, and I just thought it was some kind of factory off-road option, but it's not. The line has been cut. It used to connect from there to there. The The line has been cut. 2 rubber 5/16 hoses have been added. And someone bolted onto the frame a Napa fuel filter adapter, or at least a Napa filter with some kind of aftermarket fuel filter. It's a nice job. Just cut the line, couple of clamps, and they bolted it through the frame right there. So there's a fellow on thetruckstop.us.com, the truck stop, just look it up, it's a nice forum, I go there, and he said to add an inline filter, because the sock in the tank could become blocked, you should drop the tank and remove it, or at least put this one in line. Keep your fuel supply clean and easily replaceable. And he also wants me, and everybody seems to agree, to put on a Walbro, W-A-L-B-R-O, Walbro inline fuel pump, because this one is junk. Maximum 4 pounds, and it drops to 1 under full throttle. So they want me to put on this tracking thing, metal tracking, and it looks big and bulky, and then cut the hoses and put adapters on the hoses, rather, or the pipes. And this is some kind of junky aftermarket because it's only got butt connected wires. Sorry about the low light conditions. So anyways, this is an aftermarket pump. I put a Delphi pump. It seems that they're all bad. They're just too small for the job. This one's not leaking. It works. It's loud. I'll turn the key and you'll hear it in a minute. But he wants me to put on this Walbro pump, or at least carry it as a spare, or maybe take the one off the Weasel and put a Walbro and keep the other one for this truck. I don't know. It's $150 for that Walbro pump. Oh, maybe this one's the cheaper one because it's a mechanical injection. Phew. So, the guy speaks good information. And I'm going to play the pump for you. Oh, my hands are frozen, even though it's above freezing today, 35 degrees plus 2 Celsius. Whew. Now, this thing only operates when you turn the key forward. I'll show you. Remember the problems I had in California with the red Suburban? Oh, geez. Guy there used to work for GM, showed me a little tip. The fuel pump relay is right there. It says it, fuel pump relay, and there's a power spot right there. Fuel pump fuse, fuel pump relay. So you pull these little plastic nuts off and this little clamp. And they stopped this in 94. Last year was 94. In 95 they went to electronic, changed the whole wiring system. Fuel pump fuse, which is that little lift pump, feed pump. Fuel pump relay. I thought this might have been the problem with the Weezer in California. So you got power here. All you do is pull this fuse out of the little fuse holder that's so conveniently attached to the firewall. Of course, my fingers are frozen, so I can't friggin' do anything. All you do is this. What a neat trick. And I tried it on the Weezer, and it wasn't the problem. It was a computer problem and a timing problem. But just do that. Neat, huh? Hear that? Yep, just powered up. So I ran a power wire to this, and we played around with all kinds of inventions. Nothing worked. Fusible links. Now they replace all that with fuses over there. Fusible links are friggin' an idea from another century. My mother had a fusible link blow on her Cordoba outside of Burger King back, boy, 1976. 25, 35, almost 40 years ago. Boy, was she mad at me because I just put a Holley carburetor on her Cordoba. A Holley 500 CFM 2-barrel. I decided that's what that car needed. Anyways, fusible link blew, and she was blaming it on me, but it wasn't me. It was a crappy fusible link. I saw the puff of smoke when it wouldn't start because it was flooded because it had a big carburetor. What we do to our parents, huh? So anyhow, something else that I read in the very interesting, informative documents published free on the internet by Buddy. When you buy an alternator for a diesel, it is supposed to have a bigger 2 5/8 pulley. They never do. The rebuilding places should put a bigger pulley on because the diesels run their tachometer off the alternator. And if it has the wrong size pulley, it runs fast and the tachometer shows fast. I don't know, 10-20%, a few hundred RPM. So we get our trusty made in China tape measure right there. And I'm going to measure this pulley. Just before I bought this truck 4 or 5 years ago, the guy put on a brand new alternator, brand new junk rebuild, Napa, whatever it is, and I bet you it's a 2 3/8. Yep, 2 3/8 pulley. And in millimeters, I don't know. Should be a 2 5/8, and you can tell because the lip here is much thicker All the meat is in this extra lip. The hole, I think, is the same size, but the lip is bigger for a bigger diameter pulley. So I bought a fancy alternator from alternatorparts.com, and the guy gave me all kinds of info, and it was pretty much all wrong, and the alternator is misaligned, I think because the bottom lug, which holds the thing in place, is not cast properly, which I can't imagine how that could happen, but the alternator sits crooked. I had to put a straight piece of steel here and modify the back bracket because that bigger alternator that he sent me has a bigger bearing in the back. It's a problem on these, but it sits flat against the back of the alternator. So I cut this bracket, chopped it up, made a brand new bracket, and I don't like his alternator because it's sitting crooked and it makes the belt squeal, and when you rev it and get off the throttle, voltage drops, whoop, and the lights dim for a moment, and it does it consistently and all the time, and I don't like that. And I emailed him twice, and I don't know what to do. Call him and bug him and tell him to send me a new one and ask him why it's crooked. And so we're getting a lot of stories off our chest here. I'm going to put a fuel pump pressure T in this line here, because this line comes off the pump. So either in this line or one that comes off the pump, because if you put it on the top of the fuel filter, I was informed, again by informative buddy, that the top of the fuel filter is the inlet to the fuel filter. You want the pressure on the outlet side to see after your fuel filter, to see if your fuel filter is blocked. If the pressure is low, that means your fuel filter is possibly blocked or your fuel feed pump is weak. Something has to be fixed. And he is the expert on 6.5s. We know it, we were there, we were lucky, and we're going to take advantage of the information and use it effectively. I told you I'd play my fuel pump, but I don't think it'll play very well now because I already had this thing primed. Let's turn the camera upside down. Crank her up! Poof! Junk. Fuel pump won't run because there's no oil pressure. It runs off oil pressure and it relays when it's cranking. You can't hear it when it's cranking because it's cranking. Crank her up! It's running off the oil pressure now. Stuff clicking up front. Huh, hear it? Relay sticking. Huh. Interesting, huh? Is the relay sticking on the firewall, making the pump run excessively? Needs a bit of throttle, keep it running. What are we looking at here? The dash. Oh yeah, my hand is so cold I can't freaking feel anything. Great! Needs a bit more throttle, and you can't program it because there's no computer. Whee! I also was reading, there's pages and pages of stuff to read. I was also reading about the exhaust pipe. The crossover pipe is a double-walled pipe to last longer and deaden some noises, but it could collapse internally. Oh, nice and warm. Uh-oh, I'm missing a bolt. One bolt is missing. Well, stinking up the joint. He also highly recommends changing the crossover pipe, low restriction exhaust, which I actually have. I bought one at a flea market, brand new in the box. He had one for Suburbans, but I didn't have a Suburban then. Whoop, that's really good for my radio. He also recommends the bigger alternator with the proper size pulley, the air box. There was something else. Now I don't remember. Oh well. If I think about it, I'll let you know. I gotta pick up my radio, and I gotta pack up the sheep and get the flock out of here. Oh, yeah. Here's something else I just thought about. A friend of mine in Houston, I think he needs these brackets. They're missing from his K10, his 81 K10. And they might be the same, 81 to 93. These are a spare I got off of a truck a guy was scrapping. So they were right there. And I'm missing something on this and I forget why I got those. They were missing when I bought it. I hear that fuel pump clicking away. Yep, I hear it. There's that C-clip, that nasty C-clip. I think I also hear an exhaust leak. Yeah, I got a little exhaust leak. Rattle, rattle. I hear it. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Runs pretty well for 283,000 miles. Is that 500,000 kilometers? Just about. 450. That clutch fan's not disengaging, you see that? Oh, just disengaged. All of a sudden the sound changed. The clutch fan disengaged. Need a little bit of help from my lead foot. It's good. Clutch fans have to disengage. I guess the fluid was thick, so I have the bracket on the passenger side. These are off a gas job, but diesel may be very similar. It's too cold to go underneath and compare it. My hands are freezing. But my friend in Houston, listen for the fuel pump. Oil pressure. Noisy, huh? Phew! My friend in Houston bought an 81 K10, total POS. Freaking falling apart truck, but hardly any rust, of course, being in Houston. So he's putting it back together, and he's got the wrong case. The Turbo 350 for the truck has a big K cast into the side of the bell housing area, and it's thicker. It's got the big bolt bosses. I'm rambling on here endlessly, aren't I? It's got the big bolt bosses for the bell housing cover, and the K has that, and the one for the passenger cars or the two-wheel drives doesn't have it, so it's got the wrong transmission. This one has the correct one, but I'm missing a bracket on one side that bolts right to there. The other side, the bracket's there, but there's no rod. And I'm too cold to go on, even though it's not even freezing today. It's just enough. I just washed my crappy work coat, and I think I'm lying in the transmission oil. That's seeping a little bit. I had these sleeves remade. See, different color. And they're shredding again. So we had our fun. We cranked her up. We reviewed everything that had to be reviewed, and I hope my air conditioning works in the spring because I put all new parts. New compressor, new orifice tube right behind there, and new muffler, receiver, dryer, and lots of R134A, and it works great. And Tow Wrecker is going to come and rebuild the motor in the Weezer and put in air duster. TGIF. I need to go warm up. Thanks for watching.